Today is going to be a really exciting day, and in this webinar, we will tell you more about how we are going to revolutionize your NetSuite AP processes with generative AI. Before we start, let's first introduce the host of today. Myself, I'm Dennis van der Graaf. I live in the Netherlands. I'm working for 7 years already for Zone Co, and my current function is director of the Zone apps. And this translates into the fact that I'm responsible on a daily basis for all our high volume apps. And one of the apps is our ZoneCapture. And today I'm joined by my colleague Justina Bilak, and I will give her a second to introduce herself also.
Hi, thank you, Dennis. My name is Justina. I'm also based in the Netherlands. I work as a product owner for Zone & Co, and I'm focusing on a daily basis on improving and enhancing our ZoneCapture. And today I will present a short demo of our new functionality, and also I'm available for your questions in the Q&A.
Thank you, Justina. Before we start the webinar itself, I would like to highlight that in the bottom of your screen, there is a button labeled Q&A. If you press this one, a pop-up will appear, and this pop-up provides you the opportunity to ask questions during this webinar. So if there's anything that you would like to ask us, feel free to use the Q&A section. We will try to answer as many questions as possible at the end of our webinar. And if there are potential questions that we were unable to answer, we will answer them offline by email. Let's first start with our agenda to see what are we going to show and highlight today. We will start the session with our mission. From there, we will transition in a short and brief explanation about what is GenAI. Then we will tell you more about why GenAI is going to be used inside ZoneCapture. Then we will transition into the benefits it will bring you as a customer. And then I think the highlight of this whole webinar is going to be the demo from my colleague Justina. From there, I will tell you more about the upgrade cycle. Then we will transition into the data and security, and a brief summary of the highlights, and then at the end we will do our Q&A round. Let's start with the mission. The mission from Zone Co is to redefine the AP landscape, and how we are going to do that is with the simple statement: we would like to provide you an AP automation that delivers 99% plus touchless processing. If we would take this as a key array, then I would like to tell you all that the journey has just begun, and this release is the first step towards full automation, and features will evolve in future releases. So the 2.6 version that we are discussing today brings us GenAI, but this is just the first step. There are many more changes and features and enhancements that are upcoming that will take us even further to the next level. Also, I would like to highlight that we really do value your input. So as soon as you start working with our applications, everything that you would like to share with us is something we would like to hear. So is there something inside our product that you don't like, or maybe features that are missing, or behavior that you would like to see differently? Do not hesitate to contact us. And this can be done really simply on our website by raising an IT ticket. All input will always be evaluated by the product management team, and from there we will decide if it is something that we are going to use in our applications. All our products are based on user feedback, so don't hesitate to share your experience. Let's dive into what is GenAI, and this is just a brief summary so that everybody can see what is generative AI and how are we going to use it. The definition of GenAI is that generative AI is a model that is able to train itself with existing information. Based on this training, it can understand provided data, make logical decisions, and also create new content. If we would summarize this definition, then we can say that it is capable of thinking like a human, so it can really act and think like an actual human and read data between the lines. It can generate written context, and this translates into it can generate new text or conclusions or summaries from information that you have provided to GenAI. It can also analyze data and make logical choices. And again, this is just like a human. It can really analyze what kind of data we are providing, and based on that, it can make choices as a normal human would be capable of. Also, it has natural language skills, meaning it can read, understand, and translate different languages. And this point for some customers could be really interesting, but we will show a little bit more about what we can actually do with those natural language skills. Then why are we going to use GenAI inside ZoneCapture? Let's look together at the benefits. First thing, with GenAI, we are able to automate repetitive tasks. And this basically means that everything that we are doing on a daily basis as a human inside NetSuite, in this case, all related, of course, to the vendor bills and vendor credits, that we do repetitively is something that GenAI can also do really, really well. So everything that we can eliminate there is going to be a big win and benefit. It will also improve accuracy and efficiency of data extraction. And GenAI is really able to understand your NetSuite environment, to understand also the PDF or the transaction that is incoming, and therefore it can make logical decisions and extract data just like a human. It can understand the invoice and its context. And from here, we can also say that it is really consistent in output, especially if we compare it to a human. If we have a normal employee that is entering data on a daily basis, then that person can be impacted by, for example, it's not really great weather, or maybe something personally happens, but that person can be impacted by things like that. And due to that, it can also be that the data that they are entering is not always consistent. It can change based on how they are feeling. GenAI, compared to that, is always going to give you the same answer. So your consistency in data entry is going to be always equal. It also provides the ability to interact with data like a human. And this is basically the situation that if you're reading the PDF and there is, for example, hidden data or data that we can calculate, that are all things that GenAI is also capable of. And we will show that also in a demo, how we can utilize that. If you would summarize this, then we can say that generative AI allows ZoneCapture to understand your incoming invoice and the NetSuite environment. Based on this understanding, it is capable of making logical decisions, allowing it to pre-populate most existing data fields. Besides this, generative AI is able to interact with data as a human would, inferring where to apply translations or data extraction logic. Let's dive together into the benefits, because that is what it is all about. The first benefit I would like to highlight is the time to value. And it will provide you value from day one. No configuration or onboarding is needed and works out of the box. And this basically means that as soon as we're going to upgrade your NetSuite environment, or you are newly installing our ZoneCapture application, the GenAI will automatically analyze your system. It will make decisions at that point, and it will configure itself. So you don't need to do anything. It does itself fully automatically. GenAI doesn't just recognize, but understands your data and what to do with it. You will see instant return on investment. So due to the fact that you don't need to configure anything, it works out of the box, there's no onboarding, and you will instantly benefit from generative AI. If you would summarize this as a key takeaway, then we can say that the system doesn't need any configuration from the end user and will set up itself completely automated. Generative AI understands actually your system and the incoming vendor transactions and can, based on this information, make decisions on what to populate and where. And after installation or upgrade, you instantly benefit. Scalability and agility. Let's also look together at this point. We can say that generative AI is going to be your personal assistant that speaks all languages. With generative AI, we are able to break down or remove the language barriers in full. It's also a technology that will grow and adapt with your company automatically. And if I would dive deeper into this point, it basically means that generative AI is scaling automatically with your company. So if you're going to be bigger as a company, GenAI will scale up and will automatically follow your company. But more interesting is going to be when, for example, you are opening new regions or new markets where you have new vendors with new languages, new invoice layouts. That are all things where generative AI is really well capable of scaling up, understanding instantly what is happening, and provides you still the answers that you were expecting, and therefore the data entry that you were expecting. If you would summarize this as a key takeaway, we can say that the system is capable of growing and adapting with your company on a senior level that is able to increase your output and consistency. New regions, vendors, and invoice layouts are instantly supported without any configuration. Process faster and more accurate without being held down, and focus on the future. And the last benefit I would like to highlight are the cost savings. I think this is always really important for companies. We are going to provide you an ultimate automation that is going to lower your cost. And how is it going to lower your cost? Instant manual work reduction due to automated field population. So as soon as we install 2.6, all fields inside your NetSuite environment are applicable to be automatically populated by generative AI. So all the fields that you're currently attending to, that the general OCR was not able to populate for you, will be populated by generative AI. So that's going to be a really big step forward, and it's going to instantly translate into a reduction in your workload. You can process more with higher accuracy while doing less. Generative AI is going to populate the fields for you, it's going to make decisions for you. So high level, you are only checking if all the data is correct, and due to that, you will have a higher accuracy and you can do more while basically you're doing less. And also it will eliminate manual errors and costly audits. Due to the fact that your data entry is going to be more consistent, higher accuracy, it also means that there will be less manual errors, and that also means that if there is an audit, the audit will potentially fully pass without any challenges. If we would also summarize this as a key takeaway, then we can say that ultimate automation driven by generative AI translates into a virtually high-skilled employee that is capable of entering, confirming, and checking your data entry, speeding up the process while improving your accuracy and reducing errors. A lot of information, but I hope it drips down a little bit. But from here, we are going to transition to a demo. And my colleague will show you more about how the setup works, where configurations are, and will show you actually in before and after example. So I will stop the share and I will hand it over to my colleague, Justina.
Yes, let me share the screen. All right, I hope you can see my NetSuite account. So I would like to show you today an example that we have on version 2.6.0, so our newest version of ZoneCapture. And to recap what Dennis said before, we can expect GenAI is working on line level data based on description of the lines captured by our OCR provider. So what exactly happened on my testing account that has been upgraded from 2.5 version? 2.5 is the version that are currently on, most likely on your production account. It has been upgraded to 2.6 version. And to emphasize what happened on upgrade, the account keeps using current OCR setup, but GenAI has been automatically enabled on this account on the top of standard logic. So what does it mean? The installation script triggered on upgrade checked what kind of fields do I have configured on my purchase transaction that are applicable to further automate, and how we can further use GenAI to populate even more fields for you than usual. So to visualize what I mean, I have here an example of the vendor bill, still yet without GenAI, so how it was in version 2.5.0. So there is a set of fields that we normally populate based on OCR results. I have here an example of Italian invoice, and as you probably familiar with our application, standard fields like invoice number, date, due date on the header section are populated. And on the line level data, here we are working with invoice with 4 lines. 4 lines are captured, but all of them are defaulting to the same GL account that was defined in the In my configuration, we have amount captured, tax if applicable. We have description of the lines captured. But if you check further on my invoice, I have more fields for lines. I have department, contract number, machine, serial number. So some fields really specific to my business, and all of them are empty because at this moment I do not have any custom rules that would populate these fields. I do not have any workflows or sourcing set up for these fields. So this is how this invoice would look like just when you install ZoneCapture without GenAI, without any further rules created by end users. So this is our starting point, and we wanted to bring automation further together with GenAI. So on installation or upgrade to 2.6.0, we are checking what kind of fields do we still have that are not populated by our standard logic. The next step for us, we map all these fields per vendor. So if I open the vendor record that I'm currently working with, in ZoneCapture subtab, we have a new subtab that if you have permission, you will see that GenAI vendor field mapping, and you will currently, let's focus on vendor bill transaction type and on the line level data. You see we automatically mapped all custom fields or segments or classification coming from NetSuite, and we are ready to start populating these fields together with GenAI. So this setup happened automatically on upgrade. You do not need to configure anything. GenAI is enabled, and we have the set of fields that we will try to populate for you. And this set of fields contains free-form text fields, but also drop-downs. Like if you notice, we also have, for example, department or location or GL account. This is a drop-down field, list record fields inside NetSuite. So this is the setup on 2.6.0. You will see few of my fields also have additional context provided, GenAI field context. This is not mandatory, but this is, I would say, very powerful tool to provide additional information to GenAI, what exactly you expect us to populate on your vendor bill. Because by default, we have, of course, field name and native NetSuite field level helper. So as long as you keep your naming convention clear and very concise, we have already a lot of information as a starting point. But you can, of course, further automate the system. And as in my example, we will be working with invoice period that I would like to have an answer in number of days. That will be more clear when we see an example when that actually happened. And for machine, I would like to translate it into English. So let's have one more time a quick look on the invoice without GenAI. So we have 4 lines created, all of them defaulting to the same GL account, and other custom fields or segments are empty. If we now process exactly the same Italian invoice together with GenAI, you will see the results are slightly different. And again, let's focus on lines because 2.6.0 version is providing a support for lines. We will, of course, extend that further for header level section in the upcoming weeks. So let's focus on lines. And if we start from the left-hand side, GL account, what happened here? The captured description from the PDF is exactly the same as in the previous example. But what happened here is that this captured description has been run through GenAI, and we ask which value from these available values for GL accounts is the best match if we are working with this certain captured description. So in our case, we have machine rentals because this is an invoice. If you actually translate it from Italian to English, you will figure out that this is an invoice for renting machines. So we have 3 lines for machines rental, And the last one also, if you translate this description coming from the last line, it's related to freight, to cost of delivery, and also GenAI didn't have any issues to provide us, to suggest us postage and delivery GL account. So also to emphasize here, invoice is in Italian, my whole setup is in English, and that's not an issue. Everything is translated in the background. You do not need to provide any translations from your side. Your setup can be fully in English, and any invoice in any language will be able to use GenAI. But let's go further with my fields. Now we have department. Department is also a dropdown, so exactly the same logic happened as for GL account. So this capture description has been run through GenAI to choose the best match for department. And as you see, not all lines has department selected. Why is it like that? We do not populate values if GenAI wasn't sure enough which department to choose. If we have maybe not clear enough departments, or the captured description was not sufficient for us to select the best match, we rather do not populate values for you if the match coming from GenAI wasn't perfect enough. So we will still leave this choice for you, or for any further automation that you might have. But if we are sure enough, like in the last line that was related to the shipping costs, we have a department shipping and retail. In this case, we are sure enough that this is a correct one, and then we auto-populate that for you. If we go further, then I have my free-form text fields, contract number. This is a specific field for my NetSuite account. And if you see in this example, 3 lines have indeed contract number mentioned on it. It's not exactly contract number, but that's not an issue. GenAI was able to extract contract number from captured description. So for first 3 lines, we have contract number. In the 4th line, there's no contract number in this particular description, then of course we leave it empty. The next field, machine, and if you remember, if I go back to my vendor record for machine, I had additional context provided, so I further customized this field. I wanted to have it automatically translated into English, because I expect that this vendor sometimes is providing invoices in different language than English, but I would like to have it automatically translated. So what happened here? As a first step, GenAI extracted machine name, but then as you see, it's in Italian. And on the fly, we also translated automatically into English. So your results that you receive on the vendor bill, they are already in English. So that's a very big improvement, I would say, for people working with international invoices. And I think this additional context to translate it into any language is a really powerful tool in our case. Let me go quickly through the rest of the fields. Serial number, that's also free-form text field. So you will see that we have number, serie, mentioned on Italian invoice. That also was clear enough for GenAI to extract this value. An invoice period, in my case, is also free-form text field. And if you have a deeper look on the invoice, how vendor provided invoice period, that was a date range from 1st of March to 31st of May. But for my purposes of this field, again, if I would go back to my vendor setting, you will see I have an additional context here as well to provide an answer in number of days, because this is how I need this value to further process my invoices. And you will see here as well what happened. We extracted date range on the fly. We calculated number of days between these days, and the final result that you have on the invoice is already in number of days. All right, so I hope this simple example is able to show you at least what kind of options and what kind of opportunities are included inside GenAI, what kind of config options do you have. So by default, this feature will be enabled on your account. On upgrade, all mappings will be created, and from the day one, we will start populating fields for you. Of course, you can disable it, you can further automate it. So I believe it's a matter of testing and adjusting it for your business. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Justina. I will take over from here and share my screen again. So let's dive further into our webinar. The next step is the upgrade cycle, because I hope that you are all really excited about this technology, and let's see when you will be getting this technology. So first, the highlights. The version 2.6 that includes GenAI is already available. We did release it at the beginning of this week, so it means it is already available for installation. But what will happen with that installation? Sandboxes can already be updated at any given moment by the end user. So sandboxes are not managed from the side of ZoneCapture, and that basically means that you can now already navigate to your sandbox account, go to the installed suite app list, and there you will find, of course, ZoneCapture, and there you can manually start the upgrade cycle. Keep in mind that the upgrade can take some hours, depending on how big your account is. The setup from GenAI, depending on your system, can just take a few minutes, but can also take a few hours. Really depends on how many fields you have and how many vendors do you have. So I would really recommend, if you would like to start testing in Sandbox, start the upgrade before you leave from your work, and in the morning the update should be ready and you can start using your application. For your live accounts, we will be upgrading those in a phased manner. And to highlight what exactly will happen with a phased manner upgrade cycle, it means that we are doing the upgrade in small steps, just to make sure that our application is stable and nobody is negatively impacted if there would be any kind of glitch or error inside our product. Of course, we have been really careful and in-depth testing cycle, but of course we are only human. We can also make mistakes, but we try to eliminate them as good as possible. Due to the fact that December is a little bit of a strange month, we will most likely see that not a lot of customers will be upgraded during December. In the upcoming 2 weeks, we will still execute upgrades, but it will go slow because we are currently in the beta stage of live accounts. And from there, we will transition into the smaller batches of the smaller customers. So most likely, your account will not be yet upgraded in December, but most likely in January. And also in January, in the beginning 2 weeks, we will take it really slow because we do understand that a lot of companies will have a year end that they would like to finalize. And of course, an upgrade of your software could potentially impact that. And that is something we would like to avoid. So key takeaways for the upgrade cycle is that the GenAI functionality is already released and can be installed and tested in a Sandbox account. Upgrades must be triggered from the end user side for Sandbox accounts. Live accounts will be upgraded in the coming period. Some accounts will be upgraded this year, but the majority in the new year due to the holiday period and year ends. If you would like to have your live account already updated quickly, then you can always raise a support ticket with our support team, and we will take care of the upgrade instantly. Also, I think an interesting topic is data and security. What will GenAI actually bring? Zone is going to use a dedicated OpenAI environment that does not allow OpenAI to use process data for training. So that really means that we are utilizing the OpenAI technology, but it is in an environment that is really only for ZoneCapture. So nobody else has access to that environment. And it also means that OpenAI is not allowed to use any data that we are processing for their own training purposes. Processing of data is dedicated to a NetSuite environment and a transaction. So this translates into the situation that it is impossible that you are going to have access to data from other customers or the other way around. And each session that we are initiating to get answers from OpenAI is tailored to just one transaction. So it's really secure in this way, and it does not allow any interaction. Really important to mention is that we are only processing data outside of NetSuite, but we are not storing any kind of data outside of NetSuite. So OpenAI is only a third-party provider that we use in this situation for getting answers, getting recommendations, but we don't store any kind of data on the side of OpenAI. Everything is stored inside your NetSuite environment and processed further inside your NetSuite environment. Also, we do not process any system-related financial data. So we only process what is on the invoice. For the drop-downs, we are utilizing the actual drop-down value to be translated into a vector, a little bit technical, but everything is stored inside your NetSuite environment, and the processing is only related to the data that is on the PDF. So we don't process any other data from your NetSuite environment. Key takeaways for data and security is that GenAI is a secure feature that doesn't expose or store externally sensitive data. Then let's go one more time together over the highlights. So one of the highlights is that we have no setup or onboarding required. It works out of the box, no configuration, and you will instantly benefit from generative AI. The company is in full control, and let me translate this and dive deeper into this statement. Generative AI is a feature that will be enabled by default after upgrade, but you can disable it with just one checkbox for your whole NetSuite environment if for some reason you don't want to use it. It is also possible to disable the system on vendor level, so you can leave it enabled for your whole company and only enable it or disable it for certain vendors. And then we even provide you one level deeper. So on each vendor, as my colleague just showed you, we have all the field mappings, and per field mapping, you even can control per vendor if a certain field should or should not be populated by generative AI. And of course, we also provide you the context to further interact with that data. So you are in control. We don't get a situation that AI is going to take over, but you actually decide where and when generative AI is going to interact with your system. You also have the ability to fine-tune the data that is populated, as we showed you with the calculation of days or the translations. I think we are providing you a really powerful system. Of course, there will be many more situations where you can use the context for. We have not seen all the examples yet, and we have, of course, tested a lot, but most likely, as an end user, you will figure out new ways to use the context. The ability to translate into any language, so you are able to, for example, add additional fields, capture additional data, translate it, so that it will provide you more information about the system. We have also done a test with the standard memo fields from which everything is triggered. You can already generate a copy of that field, translate it into the language that you would like to, but in the upcoming releases, we will provide more control and even allow you to fully translate everything that we populate. And works on transactions pending processing. So after update, all transactions that were still in your list to be processed will also instantly utilize generative AI and will instantly show the changes that are happening. So it will start populating all the additional fields that are present inside your NetSuite environment. And AI field population is also supported for e-invoicing. E-invoicing is maybe not yet really a big situation inside your region, but e-invoicing is slowly taking over, but generative AI is also fully supported for e-invoicing. Now from here, I would like to transition into a QA section. So I will simply quickly check if there are still unanswered questions. And I see at this moment there are no open questions. So that leaves us at the end of this webinar. I would like to thank everybody for attending. If there are still questions that you didn't want to ask in this session, then always feel free to contact our support team. They are more than happy to help you. If you would like to be upgraded quicker, also contact our support team and they will also assist you. I hope this webinar was informative and did show you the new area where we are heading to, and that generative AI can really help and speed up your processes inside NetSuite. I thank you all and would like to wish you a really pleasant day.